Guys, you know that feeling you get in the morning after a big night out? Because our friends at Zbiotics are here to help. Zbiotics, pre-alcohol probiotic drink, is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. Invented by PhD scientists, designed to tackle tough mornings the night after drinking. Here's how this works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct that goes to your gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol creates an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Zbiotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly. Zbiotics pre-alcohol is perfect for those who always have their health in mind and are looking to master the balance of work and play. So I want you to level up your recovery, and I want you to do it today. I'll get you 15% off your first order at checkout. All you got to do is click on the link in the description. Plus, Zbiotics offers a 100% money-back guarantee. If you are not satisfied for any reason, they will refund all of your money, no questions asked. This is a problem, I believe. I believe this is going to be a problem. So, this is Khabib speaking. Let me start with what he says. Khabib, I don't know what kind of agreements Topuria and the UFC had, but from Islam's side, he already gave 2 title shots to 145-pound champions. Both times, Islam won. Now a third time? How about the idea of Islam taking on Ilia Topuria? Okay, let's imagine Topuria moves up and gets the title shot right away. Islam beats him. Then Topuria fights again at 155. He loses again. So basically, he's a nobody at 155. Islam beat a nobody at 155. Because of that, in terms of legacy, for Islam, for his resume, I understand Islam's risks. In my opinion, this isn't necessarily a more dangerous fight. Let's say more competitive. I think it's Tsarukyan. I think Arman Tsarukyan is a more serious fighter than Topuria. Topuria is a good fighter at 145. But we've never seen him at 155. I believe Arum is more competitive for Islam. Now, there's a couple of more paragraphs to this interview, but it kind of goes in circles. The theme never changes, which is King Khabib is saying no. And the reason I say that could be a problem, 155 has been extremely under wraps. We brought Charles Oliveira on this very program and interviewed him. Going into the interview with Charles, I believed, which turned out to be falsely, that Charles and the other 155-pounders already have the information. It just hasn't been revealed to us. That's what I believed going into that. Coming out the backside of the interview, after I questioned Charles, it was very clear they do not, including behind the scenes, have 155 figured out yet. So when Khabib comes out and says it needs to be Tsarukyan, or moreover, and his stronger point, was it's not going to be Ilia. That alone, Khabib saying it, no matter how much he meant it, will stand. Like, Khabib will not go back on that, even if it wasn't Khabib giving his word. And I don't think that was Khabib giving his word. I believe that was Khabib giving his opinion. But once it gets printed and once it comes out, and as soon as it looks as though it's Khabib's word, there is no punishment large enough that those guys would go back on it. You could threaten to strip him. You could threaten to release him. There is nothing you can do that is larger to Khabib in this life than maintaining his word. And I really don't think those are his words. I do not think he should be held to that. First off, that's a secondhand interpretation, and I think he was sharing his opinion. He was being gracious with his time and sharing his opinion. I'm just telling you how this is going to be redone, and I don't know that all of it's possible. I do feel the idea of Ilia Topuria versus Islam, while that seems to make such clear sense, how do you deny an undefeated world champion? How do you deny that he's a number 1 contender? But at the same time, if you're going to make said undefeated world champion the number one contender, you would do that in the same press release that you stripped him in. Which, by the way, is another part of the story that's gotten very weird. I realize the official tale is to be told that Ilia vacated the title. I am aware that that's how we need to tell this as fight fans. But if you weren't told that as fight fans, you just went and looked at what happened, you would have no choice but to realize he was stripped. There was nothing about the way that played out, including the fact that he was no longer champion. He was no longer champion on Saturday night when the bell rang. Are you aware of that? It might seem like a small detail, but if you look at what happened, he was stripped. Now, they've all decided to go along to get along and use a word vacated, and it does matter. It matters to the fighters for whatever silly reason. I'm just sharing that it does matter. I'm not willing to play along. He didn't vacate that belt. Ilia got stripped. Moving on past that. I do believe that Khabib could succeed in not having Islam face Ilia right away. I do believe he could succeed in that. In fact, I think he will succeed, and I think if it was going to be Ilia, you would have made that announcement. But I also don't know how you just put Ilia amongst the field. It's an undefeated world champion. I don't know that you can just put him in there with 2 and 4 and 5 and then say it was the right thing to do purely because he changed weight classes. Now, the part that I don't think Khabib can succeed at is getting Sarukian the title shot. That, to me, would be the bigger surprise. And again, it's not because he doesn't belong. We can't argue whether or not Sarukian belongs. Use the word deserve. I hear that word a lot. I'll throw that in there. We can't argue that he doesn't deserve. He had the piece of paper. He never lost. He just lost the piece of paper. It's important to understand that. There's distinction between terms. Largely in MMA, people will misunderstand number one contender from number one ranked. Number one ranked is purely that, a system of ranking, in order of which names are written down on a piece of paper that we all reluctantly agree to adhere to. The number one contender is whoever has a signed bout agreement, regardless of your ranking. Sarukian had the ranking, and he had the bout agreement. And he's also been oddly quiet. I interpret his quiet as him understanding there's been some errors made. There's a penance that's going to be paid. That's how I interpreted that. But now we're hearing Khabib saying that it must be Sarukian next. And it's very hard to rectify those two statements. UFC said nothing. We have nothing to go against. This isn't an argument. This isn't a fight for ideas. There have been no ideas that have been stated until now. And it was an idea and an opinion of, as it pertains to Islam Makhacehv, the most accurate opinion we've ever heard.